Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And newbies, welcome, welcome, welcome. In the Young Thug case, the judge held one of the jurors, we'll just call her juror number 64, in contempt of court because she was unable to attend court when she received the summons. She says she was on a trip with work and couldn't call at the time because she was on a boat. But she did call and follow all the necessary guidelines once she got the summons. Even spoke with jury management, but the judge didn't care. He ordered that, y'all get this. He ordered that she write a 30-page essay explaining why jury duty is important. And in the same breath, he says to her, he's not picking on her. For me, this is just my opinion, y'all. I think this judge is trolling and clout chasing because that is way, way, way too much. But y'all tell me what y'all think. Drop down in the comment box after and tell me your thoughts. And keep in mind, guys, her trip was almost $7,000. Take a listen.
Your Honor, may I please refer to her as juror number 64?
You certainly may.
Juror number 64, you've heard the recitation from the court as to what occurred in this matter that causes you to be here today. Is there something that you would like to explain to the court as to why you didn't show and what were the circumstances surrounding your non-appearance?
Yes. First, like receiving the jury summons. I don't think,
speak up if you wouldn't mind.
actually, just receiving the jury summons. I travel a lot. I've always traveled a lot globally for work and other things. But I traveled. I wasn't here Thanksgiving week, the week of the 28th. So, and I don't think I returned until like the 16th. I was in the UK. And because I live with my grandmother, I didn't go because I was exposed to travel, didn't want to make her sick. So I don't think I actually saw the summons until like the 30th.
The 30th of December?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, from travel and just abstaining from the household to not make anyone
When did you
sick.
book your travel for the Dominican Republic?
So that was also a business trip from a partnership, and that travel was, I think it was booked like the 29th, but it's been on my calendar
Of
since
December?
the 1st. I didn't book it. The admin booked it for that particular.
Hold on 1 minute. Yeah, I have a document that may assist the court with that information. If I could present that to the court.
Absolutely.
All right.
And that trip
Hold
wasn't.
1
okay.
minute. And I'll hand these up to the court.
Are they part of Court 1 that we gave you, Mr. Thomas?
I don't think that those are the booking information. I don't think the court gave me the clerk gave me the
Okay,
book.
that's fine.
Okay.
I'll mark it as, let's see. Well, this would be R1, respondents 1, so. I'll mark, it's a 6-page document. It starts out with Gotcha's Breakfast Bar and goes on, and it has her booking information. I'll admit it for consideration as R1,
Yes, sir.
respondents 1, and some of the information we do have already, Mr. Thomas, but I will include that, so I'll admit it.
All right, juror number 64, you can continue to explain to the court.
Yeah. And that day, like I said, I received the jury summons really late, so and I didn't really fit any of those 4 options listed, so I came. And then at that day, when you said it, I asked when we were checking out, because it was a long day, I asked, was there any exception to the process? Because it was Wednesday, and the hardship things were on Monday. So I asked, my trip started on Friday, and it was a business-related trip, and I asked, was there any exception? They said the best you could do was send an email with the details and explanation. And I also knew I had these medical appointments. I have 5 weeks of scheduled infusions for the next 5 weeks, starting the 20th upon my return. But they said send the email, and I did the first thing the next morning. I also called aggressively, trying to get through. And that voicemail, I called it, I checked yesterday, it still says if you have an issue, send it with your jury summons, send an email, and you will not be penalized or something. So I sent that. I didn't really know I was in violation until the sheriff showed up. And even then he said, when you come back, come down. So after I realized it was I had a warning, that it was basically because family members started calling me from seeing the news or reading the paper or whatever. And I called back then. I couldn't leave. I would have immediately returned, but I was on a boat and I had no way to get off. So,
Ms. Hayes, let me ask something. I mean, this is not your first jury service in Fulton County, is that correct?
no, and I've never, but it normally doesn't go like this. And I thought I was following directions.
And that's part of the challenge I think you're facing is that, because I've read through the documentation that you provided that's fairly contained within courts, the court exhibit I just gave. What's that number, Christina? 23. Course 23. And then why didn't you just apply for a medical waiver? And if your health condition, you could have done that, and that would have earlier and gone ahead and not been in this particular position. But
because the jury summons said you had to do it 10 days before, I saw it really late.
So you're saying that when you had your, you didn't get because of your travel, that your notice sat in your grandma's home, and then I'm just. So
I returned from the UK, I know, around the 17th. I had a doctor's appointment on the 20th. I didn't go home. I usually don't go home until 7 to 10 days if I've been exposed, because my grandmother's elderly and pandemic and all that good stuff. So I know I didn't see the summons till after Christmas. I didn't go home till after Christmas.
So you didn't go home, and so your grandma's, you didn't look at your mail until that point in time?
No, my mail was home. No.
Say again?
No, I didn't have my mail.
Okay.
Earlier from the clerk shows that I think the total amount of her trip, according to the document I have here, is about $6,900.
Yes, I'm in possession of that. That the total cost of her. Madam, when did you send in this documentation? Did you send it in prior?
The same day. That immediately when I came if it was Wednesday, I did it. We left here late Wednesday. I did it first thing Thursday
I'm sorry,
morning.
you're
On the 5th.
Are you referring to the email? You're asking her about the email that she sent?
I'm asking her about when she sent her itinerary to jury services.
Immediately the next day, the 5th.
Okay, then why not send it earlier? I mean, if that were the case, I mean, you obviously saw this is probably going to be a problem. So why not send it to jury services and put us on the ready even before? Because on the 4th, theoretically, I mean, we could. I mean, we do excuse people that have travel that is booked prior to their jury summons. So I don't know if you'd fall in that particular category, but we do take a look at that. I mean, if you've got pre-planned travel that clearly was booked prior to your jury summons, that is something that we can consider. But
Yeah, honestly, Your Honor, my mail was stacked.
I'm sorry, you have to speak up.
I said, honestly, Your Honor, my mail was stacked. I went through and I saw it said if you had to do it within 10 days, I believe it said. So my thought was just to show up, to not be. And every move I've made is to not be negligent of the jury summons. So I showed up, but I didn't receive that summons, I know, until like the 30th or something like that.
Did you also make calls to jury management?
Yes. Even when I was here that day and realized, when I first saw it, they said, you still have to wait to the end of the day, go through the process. We'll hear you then. As the day got longer, the process was changing. When I was leaving that day, they said, the best thing you can do is just send an email. So if I started on the 30th, the email still would have been getting to you like on the 2nd or 3rd when it was time for me to show up.
Madam, anything else?
Well, Your Honor, and I'm thinking the court mentioned December 30th. That would have been a Saturday also, because New Year's was on the 31st. I mean, New Year's was on Sunday, I believe, this year. So the 30th would have been Friday. I believe it would have been Friday. So, Your Honor, I think she made good faith efforts, but I'll also indicate, according, I don't know how relevant that might be, not knowing all of your procedures, just getting involved in this matter, is that when I was outside this morning, outside your courtroom, I heard your jury management people out there telling people as they come up that the jury management voicemail or whatever it is that people call into changes every day. The message changes. Now, I don't know how that affects people's request. I don't know how relevant that might be to the court.
It's not really relevant. I'll tell you, and I'll fill you in on that, Mr. Thomas. That particular, it's relevant for people who are assessing when they're supposed to report. So Ms. Von Kelsch tells that letter instructs them saying, hey, call after 5 o'clock, and then your juror number tells you, the message will tell, hey, jurors, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm just making that up. You need to report X date and time in courtroom 1C or 1D. That's what it does. It does change daily, but we told the jurors reporting on the 4th, 5th, and 6th that they need to call that particular number. Now, I gave them also in-court notice when we were, so I told them that, I told your client she would need to appear back on the 9th. So I did give in-court notice, and then Ms. Von Kelsch changes the message so that particular grouping. So, for example, we're not finished with all the hardships at this point in time, so those particular individuals are calling that juror services number nightly to find out when they're going to have to come back to be examined. So that's how it changes.
Numbers.
One on the website and one on the letter?
Yes, Your Honor. So there are two numbers. One is a general jury service line for regular jurors, jurors, and grand jurors, and then there is another line reserved for this case.
And Your Honor, may I ask for the court, as the court was given a recitation of how things occurred on the voicemail for jury management, is there in fact a message, and of course I have to ask because I don't know, is there in fact a message that tells a potential juror that if they send in certain documents attached with whatever request they're making, they won't be penalized? Because that could be misleading. Now,
Ms. Von Kelsch?
No, I don't believe that's on the message.
No. It just tells them when to report.
I don't know.
And
I
that
don't know
particular
where I
time.
did the letter, so I called the number that's on the website.
But did you hear something about saying it's not penalized?
It says, yes.
According to her, she says there's something that on that voicemail that says if you do whatever you're being told to do, you won't be penalized.
I just realized this moment there's two numbers because I don't know what I did with the letter actually.
I'm sorry,
I don't know what I did with the letter actually because I was tired today and I started responding to you guys the next morning. So I went back to that initial jury page and that's the number I've been calling. That's the number I got through on yesterday. So when I hear it, I just had an aha moment that there are two numbers.
anything else you want to tell me, Madam or Mr. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Juror number 64, the reason I went through that whole admonition to all of your group at the very end of the day is because, and you may have heard me talk at the very beginning about the importance of jury service. We have a lot of people that we ask to serve. It doesn't make a difference what vocation or avocation you belong, or you have. It is that important. It mirrors or is right up against that right, your right to vote. So, when, we take this very seriously in order to get a lawful and a fair and a just jury as to both sides. So, there are a lot of people that were inconvenienced. I mean, severely inconvenienced. You're not the only person that outlaid money. I examined people yesterday who lost literally hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to be here, and I have to make decisions in regards to that. But I didn't even get a chance to examine you about your circumstance because you went to, you said, okay, I'm going to go, and you didn't afford me the opportunity to do that. Now, certainly, I understand you can't be in two places at one time. So, ordinarily, madam, I do find you in contempt, but here's what I'm going to do. Contempt is punishable usually by a fine of $1,000 and or 20 days in jail. I am not going to fine you. I'm going to, well, first, madam, did you attend college?
Yes.
You have a 4-year degree?
That's Southern Tech. Yes.
Say again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What I think I'm going to do is, in order for you to satisfy your contempt, I'm going to commute the 20 days and require you to write a 30-page paper on the importance of jury service. Here's the criteria. You'll have to do APA style. You're going to have to use at least 10 primary sources, 10 secondary sources. You'll talk in a minimum, and I'll write this in the order.
Oh, okay.
You'll have an order. You'll have it before you leave here today. You're gonna write at a minimum, the history of jury service, who could not serve on a jury, because that's very important, because years ago, people that look like us couldn't serve on juries. It was prohibited. I want you to talk about jury service in Georgia and discrimination at a minimum, those 4 things, okay? And you can talk about anything else you want to, in that regard. I am going to give you a date 3 weeks hence that paper needs to be submitted to me electronically. And we're going to run it through a plagiarism checker. You got to write it yourself. And then you're going to come back and talk to me about it. I think that would be fair under the circumstances, because this is that important. I have to account for all of you who summoned, and I'm still looking for folks that it didn't appear. So I'm not picking on you. I'm sorry that you got a little bit of attention in this respect, but the attention is how serious we view this whole aspect of jury service and participation in the process, so we can get a fair juror and a lawful trial as to both sides. So I'm not trying to make it other than an exercise in that. So do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is, today is the 12th. You need to have it written and submitted to me by the 3rd of February.